It is NFL Draft Week. John Lynch giving his pre-draft press conference. What did we learn about a potential Deebo Samuel trade, what the 49ers might do in the 2022 NFL Draft, and Croc's wide receiver rankings? I'm going to poke holes in it. Maybe we'll do a little war room wide receiver rankings for the 2022 Draft coming up right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you once again at BD Peacock, at Eric_Crocker on Twitter. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, we're talking wide receivers today, but first, a little news as it pertains to the 49ers, because John Lynch on the mic talking about, or not saying a lot about, what's going on with the 49ers, keeping things close to the vest. Croc, did you have any big takeaways as it pertains to John Lynch's press conference? Because I thought he said a lot by saying a little with just a couple of things, and none of it really gave insight to the Deebo Samuel situation, except for he said, I think it's best for not only the 49ers, but everybody if we keep this kind of conversation in-house. Basically, he's like, I don't know what these dudes are doing negotiating in public. That's not how we roll over here. And he even talked about how when he was a player. So he thinks it's bad for Deebo, what's going on with all this public nonsense and requesting a trade. But it sounds like the price is astronomical, as it should be if a team did come calling for Deebo Samuel. But I think the 49ers might at least be willing to listen. Still very unlikely, I think, that Deebo goes somewhere before the draft.
There were a few things that jumped out to me immediately. And I don't want to be one of those conspiracy theorist guys or the people that are like, oh, you reading into this or that too much. But one thing was kind of funny that I think kind of confirmed some things. When he first was asked about it, he was like, y'all have seen things that have been reported, but we're not going to touch on anything. So essentially saying, there are things that are out there, like, y'all know, like he requested a trade and that's where we are right now. Now, he also declined to really go in depth about things, but he made it clear and people kind of twisting his words a little bit. And when you change one word, it changes kind of the whole statement. But essentially he said he doesn't want to envision the 49ers without Deebo Samuel. I don't have the exact quote, but he used the word want in there. Whereas like, I don't want to have to play without Deebo, basically is what he was saying. So I was okay. And also some of the things were, since he kept it so tight knit and right away did not come out and say anything like, look, Deebo is a 49er. Deebo will be a 49er. It just let me know this is definitely a very fluid situation and they're going to take it on as it comes. And however this shakes out is going to shake out. But it did not, to me, come off as he 100% will be a 49er. But I do think with a lot of the reports that are out there, 49ers don't want to let him go. And that's clear. Like, why would they? He's a great football player. One of 49ers' best guys. He carried the 49ers offense. They don't want to let him go. But he requested a trade, and they're going to try to do everything they can to salvage the situation. And if they can't, if there's a price that comes in high enough, he'll be gone. And again, that's a lot. He said all that to me without saying anything.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly how I took the whole thing. And he wasn't adamant about anything. The fact that he didn't say much about it and said he wasn't going to, speak on most of it tells me that there's at least something going on, or else it would have been
can't contradict
nothing.
He doesn't want to risk contradicting himself.
Mm-hmm. So I still think it's less than 50% chance that Deebo Samuel gets traded and is on a different team this week. But I feel like there's a better than 50% chance that Alex Mack is not coming back. Basically, did you catch this? Because it sounded to me like John Lynch basically said, I don't want to announce his news for him. And what is there to announce if you're not retiring, right? I think Alex Mack's done.
Well, someone took a picture of it was Juwan Jennings, and I think he was shooting in that little basketball court that they have. And next to it, you can see Alex Mack and where his locker is. and there's a trash can right there and a box. And someone was like, I mean, 49, first of all, 49 fans, they're the greatest. Like, they find every single little clue. I don't know how they do it.
Find it when it's not even there, but if it's there, they'll find that too.
Oh, man. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I'm not that in tuned. And you would think because you and I cover the 49ers, we talk about them so much, we're always on social media. But I don't follow the players unless they follow me. So like Jimmy Ward, we follow each other on Instagram. So I might see something on his story. But everyone else, like, I don't think there's another 49er player I follow. So I don't see all these little things and these clues, and I don't follow them on social media, on Twitter or anything. So the fans, they're great. They find all these things. And that was a good nugget. And I'm like, man, I don't want to like look too much into that, but that is something. There's a trash can literally right next to his locker and a box in his locker.
And look, I spend too much time on the 49ers as it is. I'm not going to break down every single second of every player's Instagram live feed like it's a Zapruder film either. So like, I'm not like, I'll let the fans do that. I'll let the listeners let us know when there's something worth looking at. But
Twitter has let me know I know everywhere Deebo Samuel is.
Oh,
because it pops right up on my timeline. He's in Los Angeles. He's partying.
Posting up there every city that I was in, every club that I was in. When I was, if I was famous like that, dude, I'd be silent. I'd be creeping in the shadows.
I don't obviously like Twitter, Instagram. It was growing when I was in the league 2013, but it definitely it wasn't what it is today. So I mean, I could post something, but it wasn't going too crazy. But now, like, everybody knows.
And that's where you get the best stuff is from the players that you maybe not thinking about following, that everybody's not following. I remember like Javier Vega found it on, a practice squad receiver. And that's where he got those throws from training camp or throws from practice of Trey Lance, right? Because who was it? Chris Hetherington? No, I don't know. It was somebody, training camp, bottom of the roster wide receiver that was posting stuff, and that's where we found it. So you gotta, man, that's tough. Yeah, that's definitely not something I'm gonna waste my time on. But keep them coming. Let's keep those conspiracies going.
They keep us informed, that's for sure.
Let us know so we don't have to do that work. Anything else from the press conference, Croc, before we get into our wide receiver rankings? There was and I will say, Mike McGlinchey did seem like he was in a pretty good place because he did take the podium as well, and he looks much bigger than that one photo that was circulating, and he's feeling good with the quad. It's looking like he's going to be in good shape to go for training camp, and he's just working on strength and conditioning right now, and it's full go for workouts, and then we'll be cleared most likely for training camp. So that was good news about a starting offensive tackle, pretty darn important position for your football team.
Right. There was one other thing, the George Kittle. So Kittle was on the I Am Athlete podcast. And, that's a podcast with Brandon Marshall, Chad Ochocinco. He's usually on there.
Okay.
They just had Colin Kaepernick on there. Yeah, but it's pretty good. It's gotten, I don't want to say it's gotten a little commercial, but it's a little different than when it first started. But anyways, he had Mohamed Sanu, George Kittle, and it was just Brandon Marshall. And they're just, chopping it up, podcast and everything. And Marshall got a little messy, and he's asking questions. He's like, listen, I don't want the politically correct answer. I don't want football George Kittle. I just answer this question for me. George Kittle or Trey Lance? Right? So, he asked him those questions.
Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance?
Excuse me. Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
That makes more sense, right? Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance. And George, they're laughing or whatever. Sanu's laughing. And he just talked about how they were both different. But he did go on to say, and, they kind of gave the political correct answer, but they both did it. Like Sanu, Kittle, they both answered and gave their opinions of what was kind of going on. And they talked about Jimmy Garoppolo and all the things that we hear, right? Like the things that you really can't quantify, the leadership, how tuned in he is, and all those type of things. And when George got to Trey Lance, these are some of his words. I pulled up an article that had it, but I watched it earlier. Trey has an insane ceiling, Kittle said. He just needs some reps here and there. Throw the ball a little bit more. You can't really get better without playing in the games. Just playing, going against competition, getting hit and getting back up, dealing with the adversity, how you deal with it. Because, some guys that come into the league some guys come into the league that win their entire life and they get hit in the face a couple times is different. It's just a learning process. And he went on to say a bunch more stuff, but he had a high praise. And they asked him, who does he remind you of in the NFL? And both Kittle And Sanu answered this question. Who do you think they said he reminded them of? Who's their NFL comp? Trey Lance.
I'm gonna say Josh Allen.
They said Josh Allen, both of them. And Kittle said, he was like, look, obviously Josh Allen, he is, he's way up here. He's done it in the league. He's playing at a high level. And he's like, I'm not saying Trey Lance is there, right? This is elite quarterback. But when you look at the things that he's able to do, he was like, I don't think I've ever caught balls from someone that was more talented than George Kittle. And he was like, the way he can roll out and he could throw the ball 60 yards in the air this way and do these things. And they talked about practicing, how, it's different practicing against Jimmy Garoppolo as opposed to Trey Lance, because Trey Lance, everything's going to be on time. Trey Lance, catching passes from him, it might be on time. It might be a 12-second play. Like, he might run it. So they don't know quite what they're going to get. But it was just fun to hear, I don't want to say the optimism, because still they're being politically correct. They're not going to be like, man, that kid sucks, right? But just, they didn't have to say he reminded him of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And we hear that comp. But Trey Lance, his arm, when I watched him in college, it was good. It was good. Like, okay, he has a good arm. He can do something. I was like, he has a significantly bigger arm since getting into the NFL. Like, he's letting it rip. Now, obviously, he can throw a tighter spiral here and there, but there wasn't as much velocity. So he's growing into his body. Remember, last time we saw him play in college, he was 19 years old.
Right. I was just going to say that was his redshirt freshman season, and that was 3 years ago now, in 2019 when we were seeing it. So, he was going to grow a little bit physically from there. So, yeah, arm playing up. I wouldn't put Josh Allen on him still, but that is high praise. And to be honest with you, it's funny because I didn't see any of that. There's so much going on with the 49ers in the press conference today. And Deebo Samuel, that would be front page news from 49ers fans. So I'm surprised that went under the radar a little bit with George Kittle talking about Trey Lance. So that's good stuff. A little optimism for the 49ers going into the draft. So next, let's talk wide receiver rankings and hash this out. Locked on 49ers War Room style. The Niners, I think, are going to be interested in wide receivers, Deebo Samuel trade or not, this weekend. But first, I want to tell the folks out there about Athletic Greens. This is a product that I use literally every day, and I started taking AG1 because I felt like I needed that energy, the vitamins that I just wasn't quite getting every day. And there are and tons of people take a multivitamin or some sort of thing because it's important to get one with high quality ingredients, something that your body is going to absorb, which is huge. And it's why I love Athletic Greens, because it's so easy to take. And it's one scoop, glass of water, first thing every day, boom, done. I'm done. I've got all my nutrients, all of my multivitamins, probiotics. By the way, if you are lactose intolerant, you can't do like things like yogurt and other things for probiotics, AG1 has got you covered there. And it's stuff that your body will absorb into one drink every day. Small micro habit with big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take care of yourself. And your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is so important to add in these months, winter months, summer months, whenever it is, especially in the wintertime when you don't get as much sunlight. So that's a key there. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while also tasting good. Have you ever had something like a kale smoothie? If you're into that type of thing, you're going to be into the flavor of AG1. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D, as I mentioned, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL Network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. How about BetOnline? Croc, what do you think about BetOnline's placement of Malik Willis 10.5 is right now the over under at BetOnline?
I might take the over. I think I'm smashing the over.
I'm going to take the under. You know why? 49ers are going to end up with pick 10. Someone's going to trade up for Malik Willis at pick 10 with the 49ers. They're going to move down, just get a haul of draft picks. That is the Deebo Samuel scenario. What about the
That's the Peacock scenario too.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's from our mock draft yesterday. If you didn't check out Monday's podcast, you got to check that one out. And I would say also the Seahawks. Does he get by because if you get by 6, that's one thing, but getting by the Seahawks, they're going to roll the Drew Lock, or would they take a swing at Malik Willis? So I might go under 10.5.
You going under? I'm going over. You going under?
Something like 6, I would take the over. But 10.5, I feel like there's too many opportunities for Malik Willis to go. But tons of other draft props at Bet Online, your number one source for all betting stats and sports information. Not only sports wagering, but all the developments in the leagues. There's news. There is esports. There is Vegas casino games as well. So get over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action at Bet Online, where the game starts. I do want to thank everybody once again for making Locked On 49ers your first listen every day. And for the first time ever, Locked On is hosting live coverage of the 2022 NFL Draft from our studios in Dallas with pick-by-pick analysis from our local team of experts and draft gurus, including one, Eric Crocker. So tune in to all 3 days as our draft team guides you through every pick and every trade in real time. It all starts Thursday, April 28th, 7 p.m. Eastern, available on the Locked On NFL, YouTube, and on the Odyssey app. Wide receiver 1, Croc. Who is it? I'm going to let you do your list, and I'm going to see if I can argue with you to move this up or down as we sort of go through this Locked On 49ers war room for wide receivers. And look, whether the 49ers trade Deebo or not, and probably even more so now, because we had talked about, like, wide receivers a sneaky need. I would have not been shocked at all, even before any of this nonsense with Deebo, if the Niners selected a wide receiver at 61. Now it's potential that they have a top 10, top 15 pick in this draft if they trade Deebo. And you know they've done the work. John Lynch talking about how they've prepared for all of these scenarios. So let's talk wide receivers. Let's talk draft here. Who's wide receiver 1 for you, Croc?
Jameson Williams, receiver out of Alabama.
Woo. Not worried about the MCL. Dr. Croc over here. Oh, he doesn't care.
Dr. Croc. Let me put my doctor glasses on.
Ligaments, schmigaments, right? We don't need ligaments.
Listen, I've seen enough guys tear their ACL and come back just fine. I mean, really, how many guys tear their ACL? And I'm not saying they come back maybe even that same year and they're just 1,000%, right? There is that kind of period of, okay, got to get my feet back under me. But when you draft Jameson Williams or anyone else in the top 15, 20, are you drafting them for that season or the first half of a season? Or are you drafting them for the next 4 to 8 years, right? You want this to be a long-term relationship, right? Like, it's not just a fling. So I know what Jameson Williams is. I mean, burner, right? And he might get the Henry Ruggs tag because he's just so fast. He's different. He's twitched up. He is a terrific route runner. Obviously, like me, you can always improve. But, I mean, I can show you stuff where he's running 20-yard stop routes. I mean, and just getting out, showing his numbers. I mean, the contested catch is there. The run after catch is there. The long speed, splitting 2 high safeties. I mean, love his game. He's my type of guy. Little skinny. Measured in at, I believe it was 178 at the combine. And I feel like even now, and it's hard kind of lifting weights. He's just getting back into it. But it's probably even harder when you can't lift weights and you're just naturally so skinny. Your metabolism probably running sky high. But a guy who had to transfer from Ohio State because they had 2 other guys, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave there, and Smith and Jigma. But now it's like he's wide receiver 1 out of everybody. Eric Crocker thinks so.
God, man. So Croc thinks the best wide receiver in this draft is a guy who couldn't even beat out 2 other wide receivers in this draft class and has a torn ACL. Wow. How about in Kyle Shanahan's system, running those dig routes, maybe taking a slant to the house, catching and running and hitting that seam and going all the way? I think Kyle Shanahan could envision Jameson Williams. It's not just a go route guy. You see speed and you think, oh, he's just going to run go routes all day. And that's not really his game. I mean, it can be his game, but that's not the only thing he does.
Yeah, he can run the go routes. Man, there's one play I saw him do a half step, right? So a half step is when the receiver takes off. Most people just call it like a stutter and go. But when I was going against it, when I was in college, junior college, the first time I seen it, they call it a half step, where you basically take half a step and then take off. And by the time the receiver takes that half a step, the corner reacts. And by the time the corner reacts, the receiver is gone. And he did one to perfection where the corner wasn't even with him, and he just hit that little half step, and boom. I mean, the way he was able to accelerate past the corner, it created almost 7-8 yards of separation. It was crazy. I mean, the dude is twitched up. He's explosive. Yeah, the slants, beating guys off the line of scrimmage right now. I mean, he's hard to cover in space. He's twitched up, man. He's really a combination of Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. Like if they were kind of cloned together and make one person, because he's about 6'1", 180. I think he can add another good 5 pounds to his frame and still be blazing. But he has legit, they thought he would run like 4.25. So, I mean, we're talking about real speed there. But twitched up and is a legit route runner. And that's why people, regardless of the knee injury, still have him rated fairly high. And we're like, man, we'll take him. And the new video came out of him training. It's not 100%. He's still kind of, he's going through his rehab and everything. But it's April right now, mid-April, mid to late April. Come August, come September, he'll be on that field.
I like it. ACL couldn't beat out 2 other prospects in this class at Ohio State, had to transfer, and then you just compared him to 2 busts wide receivers in Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy, and he's your number one.
No, they're not bust. Judy's not. He hasn't been a bust. He's had struggling quarterback situations, and he still has been fairly productive. He's like over 800 yards each season or something like that. No, so it's not like crazy.
Jerry Jeudy's about to break out. And it was a good point about you're not drafting a wide receiver for their rookie year. Deebo Samuel just broke out in year 3. We might see the breakout for Brandon Ayuk in his year 3 coming up this year. Right. So Jameson Williams,
we wouldn't call Ayuk a bust. And Jerry Jeudy has had Ayuk type seasons.
Right. Yep. Totally agree. Jameson Williams, you're okay at 10. Let's say the Niners make a trade with the New York Jets. Do you want to take any of these guys that high?
No, I am not a fan of taking any of these receivers that high. And we'll get into more of that. Let's get to the rankings, and then I'll talk about what I would do.
Okay, cool. And so then your number 2 receiver is?
It is none other than Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. 6'4", 212-pound receiver running a 4.3, 640-yard dash. I remember. I remember watching DK Metcalf, and I was telling people like, look, it is hard to find guys that are that big, that fast, that can fly, and just do some crazy things, and what it does to a defense. And I think Christian Watson, while I don't think he is the prospect of DK Metcalf, I think DK was just a little bit quicker, a little bit more powerful off the line of scrimmage, and was able to just explode out a little bit more. He has a lot in him. And when I look at, let's say even the 49ers, or any other team, who would not need a receiver that has that type of capability? They don't come around often. And he's someone who, talk about Deebo Samuel. Hell, if you put on some North Dakota State film, you know what you'll see? You'll see Christian Watson in the backfield taking handoffs and running outside zone. Most people don't realize that. You see Christian Watson returning the kickoff for a touchdown. You'll see him taking end arounds and outrunning everyone, jet sweeps, as well as catching the ball vertically downfield, consistently getting behind guys. And I was a little worried. Man, he's coming from the FCS program. Can he do it against FBS type of guys? Well, I watched him at the Senior Bowl, and I'm not saying that's the best group of cornerbacks there, mostly kind of day 2, day 3 type guys, but he was the best receiver there. They couldn't do anything with him. And I was like, okay, now, can he use a little refinement? I think he can definitely work on playing faster through routes. Sometimes it's a little hard for guys that are the size of him, but I think he definitely has the ability, if he can hone in on that, to help free him up a little bit more on the underneath routes. Talking about a big-time, legit receiver that would at the very least complement whatever the 49ers have.
I like Christian Watson a lot, and we're a little bit worried that his stock is getting kind of out of control. He, level of competition, the fact that it took him so long, he's a redshirt senior. It took him a while to really get going. And
still only 22. They acted like he was real. They acted like he was so old. And I looked at his age, he's 22 years old, man.
How do you come out of the state of Florida? Your dad played in the NFL. You're 6'4", run a 4.3, and you're at North Dakota State.
I don't know, but lucky for North Dakota State.
Lucky
I know a lot of people they're gonna tie this into 49ers Trey Lance, but this is separate from that. This is not. I'm not even saying 49ers should draft him and like they're gonna be Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I am not saying that at all. This is not me like just the hype and stuff like that. Like I've watched a lot of guys, and this might be a little bit more of an upside thing. And sometimes I'll lean more towards upside. I remember doing it with Hakeem Butler, with some of the ability he had and seeing that they can get the most out of him. Clearly, they try to convert him to a tight end, and it just didn't work out. He can be in the AAF or wherever league for all I know. I don't know where Hakeem Butler is right now. But sometimes I do lean a little bit on upside, and this might be one of those. But I see big-time ability. It's on him to get the most out of himself, though.
I'm with you. I missed on Butler, but we hit on DK Metcalf. Sometimes you got to swing for the fences.
DK, Deebo, and AJ. You got it. Cool. I know I had those guys 1, 2, 3. So
yeah, we had the same 1, 2, 3 that year. It was AJ. I can't remember if I had AJ or Deebo first, but it was definitely those three were the top three. DK was a clear.
Where a lot of other people were going Hollywood Brown, N'Keal Harry, McLaurin, who's good, but there were people saying a lot of other guys. Those were my three, and I wanted Deebo to be my wide receiver 1, but I just could not put him over DK, who was 6'4" and was as explosive as he was and as mean as he was on the field.
People liked Paris Campbell and Arcega-Whiteside and Andy Isabella. What a weird wide receiver class that was. This is going to be a fun one, too. I wonder which hits and misses there will be in this class. We've got Jameson Williams 1, Christian Watson 2. Next, we will get to the rest of the wide receiver rankings for this 2022 NFL draft. But let's talk about Rock Auto. With all the numbers of makes and models that exist in the world, why don't you go to rockauto.com that has the best, and I'm talking about the best selection for every part you could ever need for your car or truck. You don't have to go to that auto parts store and not know what they're looking at on their screen, and they don't really have a full stock of what you need anyway, and maybe they got to order something. They're charging you 30%, 50%, even 100% markup for the same part at a chain store or a car dealership than you could get at rockauto.com. For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump, $353 from a chain store. You go to rockauto.com, you find the same exact part for only $216. Rock Auto is a family business. They've been helping do-it-yourselfers fix up their vehicles for over 20 years, and not just huge parts. You don't have to be some big-time mechanic to utilize the value of rockauto.com. You get new carpet in your vehicle. You can get jumper cables. You can get new wiper blades. They've got everything you need. Tail lamps, motor oil at rockauto.com. So go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, and trust me, they've got everything covered for your vehicle. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Find Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. Okay, Croc, here we go. Are you worried about the drops real quick? Christian Watson.
Again, reminds me of DK Metcalf. There are people that said that, and he fights the ball a little bit. And I'm not saying he's DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf was head and shoulders my number 1. My wide receiver 2 could very well be my wide receiver 8 in this class. I think a lot of guys are kind of jumbled together a little bit. I'm just betting on the upside with him. But not as much. I mean, it's a high drop rate. And I actually saw him drop a pass or two during the combine. And it's like, dude, you're confirming what people say that you can't catch. And you're a receiver. You probably need to be able to do that. But overall, not too concerned. If you are the playmaker, I believe you can be. And like Deebo Samuel, who led the NFL in drops last season, I don't care about the drops if you are a playmaker. Now, I'm not saying Christian Watson would have to be an 1,800-yard type guy for 14 touchdowns. But if you lead the league in drops, but you have, 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, and, then whatever. If you grow into being that guy, I can handle that.
Williams 1, Watson 2. Who's wide receiver 3, Croc?
Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Maybe the most natural separator in this class, and everybody wins different, right? I mean, Christian Watson might not be the best separator, but 6'4", 212. Well, Garrett Wilson, a little bit smaller, not as tiny as he kind of looks. I think he's listed at like 6 foot. A little bit over 180 or 185. I
think it's a great point because he's put into this category of super skinny guys. He's got some calves on him. Like, I was surprised he was only 183. And to me, that seems like a guy who was trying to run as fast as possible, probably got his weight down a little bit. It seems like he's got to be playing in the 190s. He doesn't look that skinny. He doesn't look like Devontae Smith or something.
Right. Or Jameson Williams, who's really skinny.
Yeah. Or even a lot. Yeah.
Or Olave, who looks a little thinner. Good separator. Not worried about the size or anything like that. I think one of the great things that I love about his film, and I mean, this guy he could be my wide receiver one in this class. I really like him a lot. His body control and ability to make contested catches and kind of twerk his body in the air to position himself, do those things, and how he kind of just flies up. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. I like his game a lot. I think he's a better version, like whatever the 49ers are, oh, Brandon Ayuk, and what the 49ers fans wanted Ayuk to be, I think he's the better prospect version of that. So that, and there were some things issues we had with Ayuk with some of the, contested catch and things like that. Not say he couldn't do it, but, he was one of the worst in college football, right? And then the breakaway speed, which we see he has the ability to run away. I think Garrett Wilson has a little bit more juice in him. So there's just a few things where he's just a little bit better, but overall, really like his game. And route running, clean, understands how to attack leverage extremely well. He should be my wide receiver 2 at least, but
yeah, I'm going to fight you on that. Can we put Wilson at 2 and Watson at least at 3?
Okay, we can do that. We can do that. He should be my wide receiver 2. He should be.
And I think he'll be the first wide receiver that goes because of the ACL for Jameson Williams. And I think if the 49ers did trade and ended up pick 10 and draft a wide receiver, I think Garrett Wilson's the guy. I just think, the way he can get open, can kind of do a little bit of everything, and he can run away from you. So natural, just tracking the ball. And I think he's just going to get open at will in the NFL. And I think he's going to be a really good player.
Yeah, really good.
High floor too with Wilson. He doesn't quite give you he doesn't have the thickness of Ayuk, and because Ayuk hasn't shown his after the catch ability yet, but he showed more in college. Thought there was going to be more there.
He showed in the Eagles game, and I think people want to go. They want to go back to that, but I think just in general, you don't see a whole lot of making guys miss in space and taking off and outrunning guys.
Okay, still, even if Watson's your wide receiver 3, that means you see extreme value in where Watson actually is going to go in this draft, because I think he's maybe round 1, round 2 area, and maybe he ends up going higher than you think, but I think he'll go in the 30s somewhere. And, maybe the 49ers end up with a pick.
30 to 55, I'd say, in that range.
How about wide receiver 4 then? We got Williams, Wilson, Watson.
Drake London, receiver out of USC. Big body, 6'4", 220 pounds. Obviously didn't run his 40, and I think he was smart to not do that. I kind of compared it to the Michael Crabtree scenario where Crabtree was like, listen, I balled 2 times. Really, people forget about this. That's one of the greatest wide receiver accomplishments ever, what Crabtree did. Crabtree played 2 years. I think he was he was quarterback coming into college football. And he went to play receiver. So he redshirted his first year. He only played 2 years at Texas Tech and put up these crazy numbers and was 2-time Biletnikoff Award winner. I've never seen that. Played 2 years of college, was the best receiver in college football both times. But the speed, there were concerns there. And with Drake London, there are concerns there with the speed. And I think he's a little bit less of a separator than Michael Crabtree. But guess what? He is elite. And when I say elite, I mean elite at the contested catches. It is one thing where it's like, oh man, I got to make contested catches because can't run away from people. And it's like, oh, can he hang his hat on that at the NFL level? He's that good at contest. I mean, maybe some of his basketball background. This is a guy that played basketball for USC while he was playing football. And he's just now kind of committing to being a full-time football player just this past season for the first time. Obviously, he had the ankle injury that shorted his season, but he's very fluid. There's going to be a lot of people that mistake, oh, well, he's not a big separator. So they're going to say all these other things. And I get the comments, well, he doesn't have no twitch or foot quickness. And, no, yeah, he does. Oh, he's not fluid. Yes, he is. He's very fluid. They throw a ton of screens to him. He's making guys miss right there in the short areas. Is he going to just run away from guys? No. But he has some legit run after catch ability that's predicated more on strength. Hands catcher. Just throw it up in the area. He uses that basketball background and that big frame to box guys out, and he comes down with the ball. I think Drake London, really like him. Him and Christian Watson, he gives you more of the contested catch than Watson. Watson needs to work on that. Watson gives you more of the pure vertical speed to just be able to run by a guy down the sideline. So there's a little give and take with those two guys, but like both of their games.
I love the ball skills. I love that he can get open, and it's so much more important than just long speed in the NFL.
The short area That's the like right now at the line of scrimmage, he can beat you on a slant. Like he can win there. Where he doesn't get separation is if you ask him to run a go route, and it's like, hey, I want you to run a 12-yard stop route. He's not getting separation on a 12-yard stop route.
Yeah,
you just have to put the ball in an area to where it's like, okay, I know he's not going to get separation, but I'm just going to throw it high and outside, and then he's going to make that catch. But he ain't getting people just running upfield. He sits his route down, and it's like, oh, where's the corner going? That's not really something. That's not his game. But slant routes, little quick outs. If you use him in the slot, he was a big slot the year before. Like as a sophomore, he primarily played in the slot. I mean, fluid route runner from there, running out routes, things like that. Man, he has all that.
Yep. And even though he's not fast, he still has value down the field because his size and his ball skills. So he can still pull down, it's like if you're covered, you're still open. So who cares about separation at that point? Actually, my comp for me, and I think Michael Crabtree is actually a good one because the no 40 time and all that. By the way, Michael Crabtree, 134 catches for 1,962 yards and 22 touchdowns in his freshman season. Insanity.
Crazy.
Insanity. 1 year.
And the sophomore year was crazy too.
Yeah, it was really good, but not that insane. That was the Mike Leach air raid, though. What are you going to do at Texas Tech? So, some funny numbers in that thing, especially back in those days when nobody knew how to defend the air raid. But with London, my comp for him, actually, the more I've watched him, is DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I can see that. DeAndre doesn't win with winning with speed. Yeah. He's not winning with just routes. It's like, man, this positioning. It's just I'm gonna push you, and I'm just gonna put myself in position to make a catch, and he just does it time and time again.
So I like
London. This is a bigger version. This is a bigger version. We're talking about someone who isn't a whole lot heavier, but he's like 3 inches taller than DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes. And, he's not quite as big as Mike Evans, but I see those comps too. But, in no 40 time, worried about the speed a little bit. I don't think he should go too high, but it sounds like teams really love him. So I guess he is going to go.
You either love him or you don't care for him as much.
All right. So that's number 4. Drake
Real quick, the reason why people don't care for him as much, if they don't, is because they think that everybody's supposed to look like Garrett Wilson or Olave or Stephon Diggs or they think everybody's supposed to run routes like that, and that's why those are the same people that say, "Oh, Deebo Samuel is not a pure receiver," even though he had almost 1,000 yards through 8 games. It's like how does he win? Does he win like that at a high level? And like if so, he could be really good. Yeah. So that's what when they look at Drake London, it's like, well, he doesn't separate like some of these other guys. And it's like, well, clearly he doesn't have to.
He's got enough quicks and he's got ball skills. So that's what you need. It's much more important than deep speed in the NFL, as we've seen time and time again. Number 5, who you got?
I got Treylon Burks, another guy that's not a big separator, another guy that's big, another guy that can run. He might scare people off a little bit because he ran 4.55 at the combine. And I was expecting him to run much faster. I'm not going to lie. And then it was like, that's a little weird because I'm not seeing it on film. But when you watch him at University of Arkansas, he runs away from guys in the SEC consistently. I mean, it could tell you how many times he was running away from guys. Like he ran away from an entire Alabama defense. So the guy definitely has plenty of speed. And, even though he didn't test as well, I think it takes a little bit for him to get up to top speed. He kind of has to get going a little bit so that initial burst isn't quite there. He might not be a person that you see catch a slant and then outrun everybody from there. But if you're talking about like he runs a post, he can run a post. By that time, he's picking up speed. And once he goes across the DB's face, it could be good night. Like he catch the ball and outrun guys in the end zone. He can beat guys off of the line of scrimmage right now and run away from them. And if he doesn't run away from them, no big deal because he has terrific body control and hands. He has some of the biggest hands in this class of receivers. He uses those big mitts to go up and pluck the ball out of the air. So if you look at how they utilize him in the backfield, on motions, and slot, on the outside, doesn't matter versus press, versus whatever. Again, another guy that's not a big separator, but who are you looking at him to be? Do you want him to be Diggs, Stephon Diggs or something? That's not him. If you're looking for more of that A.J. Brown type guy, that's more of who he is. Now, he doesn't look like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown looks like somebody like sculpted his muscles onto him. And there's a little bit of baby fat there with Treylon Burks that he can get right. But ultimately, I think there's a little bit more in him still to come.
Little boomer bust with Burks, and I like him in the 20s of this draft. Late first round, I think, is the right area. I think some teams might have been scared off from the workouts, just worried about his body composition, what he's going to look like in the NFL as he's a young guy. Does he continue to grow? Does he grow out of the position? There's some Laviska Shenault to him too. Does he disappoint in the NFL? Is he not quite bursty enough? But the deep speed, I'm definitely not worried about. And I love the ball skills. He's actually a perfect puzzle match with Brandon Ayuk. You take what Brandon Ayuk does well, and you take what Treylon Burks does well. It'd be a nice fit opposite him, and he could do some of those Deebo-like things where you move him around and get him the ball and let him go, because he got some run after the catch too. Number 6, Chris Olave. Chris Olave, so everybody's top 5, but not in Croc's top 5.
I know, and I take a lot of heat for that from a lot of people when my rankings came out. I don't have, I didn't just do it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just did top 5, and then y'all can argue about the rest. But there's a few guys in there where I feel like you could argue them into the top 5. It kind of reminds me of the NFL, right? You can kind of narrow it down to top 5 NFL receivers, but realistically, there's about 10 guys that you can plug and play. There might be a couple guys where it's no matter what, they're in there, right? Devontae Adams. No matter what, Devontae Adams is in there. Tyreek Hill, he's probably another guy. No matter what, he's in there. People are going to definitely throw Hopkins in there. But there are other guys where it's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp. There's another group of guys where it's any one of them, depending on how you see it, they can be in there. That was my Olave, where Olave could be my wide receiver 2, 3, 4. I think he plays very fast. He gets guys going upfield, sits his route down, very smooth. Not the most sudden guy, but terrific hands, legit long speed, deep threat. A lot to like with him.
All right, let's put Olave 6, and let's try to figure out the next few here, because most of these guys are going to be gone before the 49ers pick, especially if they don't make any more trades. And even if they trade up a little bit from 61, these guys might not make it out of the top 40 picks. Right. So the next group of guys, George Pickens, I would argue, should be next. And if you want a DK Metcalf comparison, where a lot of people don't like, obviously, a lot of people didn't like DK Metcalf, fell all the way to 64. Similar with George Pickens. Didn't run a big route tree in college, but could win big, had great ball skills. Maybe
not as explosive, though.
Well,
he's not as explosive.
I'm just talking about what type of player he is and how he won. Definitely not because he's definitely not as fast and not as big as DK Metcalf. But he's a beast, and he can get downfield. I think he might be even faster than what his 40 time was at the combine, because he's still less than a year removed from tearing his ACL. He ran a 4.47 at the combine. Is there more there? Can he give you more as a pure route runner? But Kyle Shanahan is not going to like George Pickens, so I don't think we should really talk to him about the 49ers, but I would put George Pickens in here at number 7 in my wide receiver rankings. But then there's also Sky Moore, who I think Kyle Shanahan will love. There's Jahan Dotson in this next group of receivers. There's John Mechie. You got Jalen Tolbert. You got Alec Pierce. You can make arguments for any of them. I'm putting Pickens 7. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan would like him, even if he falls to them in the second round.
I like Pierce around 7, really? 7th receiver. I think he's terrific on the outside, inside. He's a legit vertical threat. He's a legit contested catch guy. He's legit with his route running ability, the hands, the pure speed that he has to be able to win in all areas of the field. I think he's a guy, when you watch him, how he frees himself up, how he shows his numbers. He's an easy target for a quarterback. I think at the NFL level, if you put him in the slot and it's hey, you're going to do a lot of your work either in condensed splits or in the slot, he will eat. He will murder it. So Alec Pierce, he's a guy that I might be a little bit higher on. And I'm curious to see if the NFL will be as high on him as I am.
I don't think so. I think Pierce is a good candidate to be available. Although, I don't know if it's just because he's a white dude, but I feel like there's the Jordy Nelson comparisons with Pierce, but that Packers pick in round 2, that might be a good spot for Alec Pierce. I could see him going there, but I think he's going to be available at 61 for the Niners. Might fall into round 3. I'm not sure about Pierce.
I don't think so.
There's something mechanical about it. He's got a roboticness to him that I'm like, I feel like there's something missing. But he's kind of a beast at the same time.
He got the little white dude run to him. You know what I'm saying? It's a little stiffer sometimes, but I mean, he's a baller. He's a baller. And he can move and he can get off. And he's very difficult to press at the line of scrimmage. His hand usage is really good. I mean, you see him come with the hand swipes. They're strong. There's a lot to like about Alec Pierce. He's a guy, if we're talking about there's no Deebo Samuel, or even if there is Deebo, a guy that can complement Brandon Ayuk so well because he can win vertically and stuff on the outside. But again, if you put him in Kyle's offense and you're like, hey, you're my slot, and we know Kyle likes that big slot, he would kill.
And I love his. I mean, he's like a 40-inch vertical. I think he was like a big time volleyball player or something like that. You're talking about a red zone guy. He can go up and yank the ball down.
Yeah.
I like that from Alec Pierce as well. Are you just not a fan of Pickens then?
Pickens scares me a little. He reminds me, and not because they go to the same school, but they look a lot alike. He just tested better. But Riley Ridley, and I really liked Riley Ridley. I had him number 5 in my class that year, and he kind of let me down. I'm looking at Pickens and everything. I'm like, Riley Ridley. And I'm like, everything he does, it looks like Ridley. And I don't want to put that on him, but it's like, well, he did test better. And maybe that's what it is because Ridley didn't test well at all.
It's like when you get burned and you're like, I don't want to date a girl from Stockton anymore, man, because I've dated those Stockton girls. It's one of those things, right?
Right. A couple other guys that probably, I know we're running out of time, but Calvin Austin, receiver out of Memphis. Like his game, watch him a lot at the Senior Bowl. He torched and killed everyone. People might be worried because he is small, but I wouldn't let that worry you. He's a legit outside guy. They're gonna peg him. Everybody, he's a slot. He's a return guy. He can play wherever you put him, outside, inside, doesn't matter. I watched him against the big corner from UTSA, Tariq Woolen, who is a legit 6'4". Like he measured in at 6'4", 205, and he ran a 4.26, I believe it was. Fast dude, and he was playing on the outside with Calvin Austin. Austin outside lined up against this big ass cornerback, and then whooped him off the line, go route. They didn't throw it, but I mean, it doesn't matter. You can't get hands on him. He's just so cat quick. So he's going to be a guy that people are going to be, he's just a slot because he's 5'8", 175 pounds. But nah, dude can play outside. I mean, he is tough to handle.
Dude, you could talk me into Calvin Austin at 61. I think that would be pretty fun with Kyle Shanahan just to see how he would use him. He'd be an elite return man. I think he's got crazy deep speed. I think he's got more as just a pure wide receiver. He could give you slot usage as well. So it'd be pretty fun. It'd be hard though to argue for Calvin Austin. And I don't know if he'll get to 93, but I'd love that pick at number 93 for the 49ers of Calvin Austin, even though he's only 5'7", 5'8". But there's also Sky Moore we haven't talked about. Tolbert. Like, would you rank them?
Sky Moore might go high second round too.
Right, he could go even late first round, even potentially. Would you put Sky Moore ahead of Pierce or after Pierce?
I just like Pierce. I just think when you look the 6'2", 210, 211, rocked up, like where I have him high.
Okay.
There is a receiver though who is older. By the time he gets drafted, he's going to be 25 years old out of Tennessee, and that's the guy. If you're looking again, who's going to be, if you trade Deebo, you got to find a Deebo clone. And it's like, no, you don't. You just want to go get a good football player and have a guy that can be productive. But if you are looking to do a little bit more of replicating who Deebo is, he's the guy. He is, and he is a burner. And he is explosive, and he's quick. I can't think of his name right now. Receiver out of Tennessee.
Velus Jones.
There we go. Just watch him, number 1.
I like the traits. He should have been better than he was in college. And how do you not break out and have those athletic traits?
I think he went to multiple schools or something.
You see a guy, he started at USC. Then there's the COVID year, transferred to Tennessee. So he went to college for 6 years. That's why he's going to be 25 years old. But how did you not, you're 25 years old. You should be beating up on 18-year-old kids, right? At that point. Yeah. So something worries me. There's something missing about production versus his age. With all the athleticism he has, I wouldn't touch him early, but if he's there in round 3, you kind of start to like the fit with Kyle Shanahan's offense.
I'd say round 4, and that's the guy. If you're talking about late comp pick or something along those lines, where it's just like, okay, 25 years old, but this is a guy where legit return guy, get the ball in his hands type guy. He played primarily in the slot, and they just had a very, very, very limited route tree at Tennessee. But you see when they get the ball in his hands and some of the things he's able to do and still be able to stretch the field, run post and things like that from the slot and just outrun guys, he has some really nice. He got something there. I was like, man, he's a monster with the ball in his hands. And he's built pretty nice too.
I'm talking round 5. Round 5.
Yeah, I'd feel good with round 5.
Yeah. Calvin Austin, like a lot. We're missing. Jahan Dotson. Where do you put Jahan Dotson in the mix? Is he?
Oh,
he's
right up there.
He plays like he's 6'4", even though he's only 5'10". So, do you even worry about the size?
Nah, see, that's what I'm saying. That's why there's 8 guys that I feel like can be in your top 5 in this class. He's one of them.
But if you're the Niners are going to have to pick. You have to we can't. I know we're going way long, which is totally fine. Whatever. It's draft season. We got to rank these guys out. Like I want to have a list here. Like, do you take Dotson or Pierce? They're both for you, right? And I know you like Pierce. You going to take him over Dotson and leave those guys on the board? You going to leave Sky Moore on the board?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. We at 6 we got Olave. At 7, I got Pierce.
I would.
And then at 8 we could do Dotson. At 9 we could do Sky Moore.
Oh my God, you're gonna have Pickens 10 then? Let's see.
That's where.
Or no, 9. So wait, we got Pierce. Your 7.
Yeah.
After Olave, then Moore, then Dotson. You said
no, then Dotson.
Dotson, then Moore. Okay.
Then Moore, and then
Moore is 9. And look, a lot of these guys are gonna be gone before 61 anyway. Pierce, I think Pierce will be there. And then 10 Pickens.
You're sleeping on my guy Pierce. I'm gonna let him know too that you're sleeping on him.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell him. As long as I'm not playing volleyball against him, we're good.
You look like a volleyball player.
Is that a compliment? I don't know. That's messed up.
I think so. They're pretty good shape. They're just these, big, tall, long guys that like to be on the beach.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have the ups to play volleyball.
When's the last time you dunked?
The last time I dunked was on my 30th birthday, and I meant to basically it was like I kept wanting to go every birthday, see how long I could dunk, and I think I forgot. And like last time I tried to dunk when I was actually playing pickup hoops last year, it wasn't a good situation. So I was like, I'm not going to try that again, so I don't want to hurt myself. But I'd have to get ready for it. I think I might be able to still throw down. But
there's a former basketball player. He does that on his birthday every year. He's like 60 something now and still can dunk it. I think his last name is Johnson. Yeah,
I love that.
Now he's probably like 6'8". But yeah.
I mean, how far is Pickens going to go? 10 after Moore? Before Cal?
Again, he has some big time ability. He does, but I was just watching him, and again, some of it. This is what might hurt him. He just played in this stale offense, and maybe that's what made it hard because it's just some of the things where it's just like, okay, like maybe if he was targeted more, he'd probably be much higher because you just see it. I mean, I see him.
It was go hitch all day long,
right? And I watched him run some routes, and I'm like, man, he was much more twitched up than I was expecting. I remember I was talking about him on the draft season show I do once a week with Tony Pauline and John Schmelk from the. It's on all the New York Giants stuff, their official YouTube and their website and all that. And we were talking about him, and I just kind of drew a blank talking about him this morning. I'm just like, I don't know, like. There's just something. Look, I'm doing it again. I know he can play, and he has nice twitch. He has nice settingness. He moves very well. He's a fluid mover. I know contested catch, he can do that, but it's just tough because it's like, well, you see him get targeted like once a game,
Yeah, and I feel like that that's why my comp for him was DK Metcalf in the way that the route tree that he ran in college, and that I don't think he's getting enough credit and didn't get enough chance to show. Like he could break off a slant, right? He could body up. He's got some dog in him. He's a physical guy. He's got ball skills. He was, the young breakout age as a freshman. Like I feel like there's a little bit more there, and I don't know how teams are going to treat him. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes in the first round. Maybe he's still there. Late too. And I think there's a lot of these guys, and I think every single team will have a different order with all these guys. That's what's going to be fascinating. Who's there? How about this one? Here's another guy that Shanahan's going to love. And I feel like 49ers fans will be disappointed if the Niners select John Mechie out of Alabama.
I like Mechie.
Catch. He's a route runner. He's got some, remember Van Jefferson a couple of years ago? I think he reminds me of him a little bit, where I thought he would be a Shanahan guy as well.
I think he has better speed than Van Jefferson. And I believe if he didn't tear his ACL, he'd be a guy everyone's talking about going day one, first round.
First round. So you have him over Pickens, Austin?
I think I do. But again, it's easier to see because I just saw it, right? Like I saw him catching bombs from Mac Jones. I saw him catching bombs from the young kid, Bryce Young. Like you just see it, and you just see him winning all over. Then you see him, game on the line against Auburn, and he whoops Roger McCreary on a whip route for the game-winning touchdown. Like you just see it, and you see it over and over. You see him running downfield past guys, crossing routes, his catch and run, all the ability. He's tough. He's taking hits. So you see it, and it's easier to just be like, oh, this is one of the top receivers in the nation.
Normally, this would be a 2-part podcast, Croc, but since it's coming up on the draft, we don't have time to be throwing extra days of podcasts. So this is going to be a double-length podcast here because we just keep going. There's so many wide receivers. I thought we were going to be able to go through this faster, but we're not. What about Jalen Tolbert?
He surprised me at the Senior Bowl. Didn't know who he was. And I'm watching him, just like, man, he's winning past guys. I'm like, this guy fast. And next thing you know, it's like he is fast. What are he running the 40? Because he was running by guys at Senior Bowl.
4.49, I think.
Okay, well, I thought he played faster than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was getting behind guys. And again, I might be thinking of him. I might be thinking of Velus Jones. So, I mean, there were a couple guys that had, like, I don't know, these helmets on them.
Yeah. No. He's fast. He runs by guys out of UAB, right?
South Alabama,
yeah. He's got some looseness to him in his routes as well. Got some size, but he's not quite wow enough to where I don't think he's going to go super high, but I think he'll be on the board for the 49ers at 61. Does he fall into round 3? I don't know. It's hard to place.
He killed Tennessee. I watched him against Tennessee. He killed them.
Do you put him over Mechie and Pickens? No. Got to be behind those guys, right?
Yeah.
But is he ahead of the 5'7" Austin? We're getting to I think the top 10 or 11 guys, I think we're starting to see a little separation. Tolbert, is he 12 now?
9 guys in 9 guys went behind before DK Metcalf. So he was the 10th receiver taken. Mm-hmm. That was in the first 2 rounds. So there's a chance that, I mean, we've mentioned about 10, 11, 12 guys that, especially, and that was with only 2 receivers going first round in that draft. I think in this draft, you could see all the guys that we've mentioned right now gone by middle of 3rd round.
Absolutely, yeah. And maybe all of them, there might be 10 receivers gone before the Niners even pick at 60.
There's a chance. And for that's why you asked me who would I take at 10. I wouldn't take a receiver at 10. I think that is too strong in the 2nd round, especially if you're able to get picked 38 or so, and you're in that range. There are a lot of guys where I'm like, I can have this guy, and I feel great about plugging him into the 49ers offense.
Isn't it weird then that the Jets are going to try so hard, or that other teams are trying so hard, that they would trade pick 10 for Deebo Samuel?
Because
you could get a receiver, at 35 or 38 too. You get 2 receivers.
But but is that Deebo? Maybe.
To where Deebo went 36.
Chances are it's not. Like the percentages are. That would not be an 1,800-yard receiver.
A couple more here beyond that 2nd round area. I want to talk about Romeo Doubs out of Nevada.
Like him.
Speed guy.
I think he's a guy who's going to slip a little bit because he wasn't able to test. Had some kind of injury, whatever, I think after the Senior Bowl or something like that. But so the necessary twitch for sure. Separation at the line of scrimmage has that. The ability to win vertically, although I don't think he's like a pure speed guy, but he can win over the top. It's a little bit more like Ayuk, where Ayuk can't get behind you. Ayuk can't run a post. He can't get behind a defense. Is he just this pure burner? No, but he can run for sure. Ayuk, Deebo, Romeo Doubs, similar. He reminded me a lot of, and this was something I put in my notes. Is he going to be Quentin Cephas, receiver out of Wisconsin, who ran a 4.7?
No, he's faster than that.
Well, yeah, he's fast. But I'm saying, like, Cephas, one thing about him, and you heard some of the cornerbacks talk about him in that draft class. Who's the toughest receiver? Oh, Quentin Cephas. I mean, he was so good with the short area quickness and like, just separation right now. Boom, boom. And I see a lot of that in Romeo Doubs. But it's like, is he going to be him or is he going to be Chris Godwin, the receiver out of Tampa, who plays primarily in the slot? And I think he has a lot of that type of game to where he's another guy. If the 49ers aren't interested to draft a guy early, but they're like, hey, we'll get Romeo Doubs in the 5th round because he's there and we have a pick, take him. I think he's somebody that can come in and he can legitimately play. I think he's going to go a little bit lower than he should because, 1, he played at Nevada, and 2, he didn't get to do any testing.
Yeah, I like that for a day 3 target. Maybe get a little value there. Danny Gray's someone the 49ers have met with, 5'11", got legit track speed. The way he's built and the way he moves, and he can take a short pass a long distance because of his speed. He reminds me a little bit of, and I'm not going to put this on him, but just stylistically, if you're like looking for something body type wise and how he plays a little bit, he's got a little John Taylor to him with like a lot of legs and strides, and the way he like just runs by dudes, and you're like, oh, okay, he's fast. Another speed guy, Bo Melton out of Rutgers. I could see him
I
being the
watched
kind of
Bo
showman dude.
Melton,
But late, we're talking day 3.
Yeah, and in the games I watched, I just didn't see like speed. You know what I'm saying? Now I heard, and again, I watch these guys without a lot of times before I know the testing. Like, but if you're like Bo Melton's there or Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor, oh, I'm going Tyquan Thornton. Bo Melton, it was someone who they definitely looked to get him the ball early and often. A lot of stuff around the line of scrimmage. Maybe it was the quarterback or limitations there, but there wasn't a whole lot as a like route runner and things like that, or like to where you could just consistently see his vertical speed. And they took a few shots, and I mean they were contested, and at least in the games I watched. So at least that shows me what is more consistent, that one go route that might be on the highlights, and I don't watch highlights during this time, or what I saw, which was I didn't see him win on the big ball.
Yeah.
In any of the games. So, but Tyquan Thornton, put on any film, you're seeing him run by guys.
Like speed. Yeah.
Can get better at the top of his routes. But a lot of times you see that with some of these guys that are really fast. But I think for a guy that's 6'2", 180 pounds, he has some nice little short area separation right now. But the speed to run away from guys is real.
Tyquan Thornton or Danny Gray? Who you got higher?
I haven't watched enough Danny Gray. I watched him a little bit like against Houston corner Marcus Jones.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And he made a couple plays on him. But aside from that, I haven't watched him enough.
All right. Did you watch? Here's another guy who's I feel like his height, weight, speed went to Notre Dame.
Yeah,
junior, but like nobody likes him.
No, there's a little bit of boinking in them, and again, it's tough when you go to these schools and then they just have somebody right before you that's like just like you.
They recruited. They have a type. They recruited all these guys.
Yeah, and this is another guy. I mean, 3-cone, everything is through the roof. So I was like, wow, I saw the testing. It was great, just like Boykins. And then you watch him, and it's just like, the testing does not match what I'm seeing right now on film. He is getting hemmed up. He can't run away from people. He's struggling to get open. He's falling on the ground. He's getting pressed. And it was like, I'm pretty sure there's you could put together some good plays of him. But again, I don't watch the highlights. So on a consistent basis, what I was seeing was somebody that did not move me at all.
All right, Croc, this is a good time for me to put my stamp on my Mr. Irrelevant. And if anybody's still hanging out and listening to this podcast an hour in, we've gone twice as long as we're supposed to, but we had to talk about this wide receiver class. There's too many of them. This is too important a position for the 49ers. Maybe gets a lot more important too, depending on what happens with Deebo Samuel, and they've got to prepare for him, maybe even holding out. Who knows? So wide receivers going to be something for the Niners in this class, and they have a need whether Deebo's around or not. Derek the Freak Young from Lenoir-Rhyne. We're talking 6'2", 220. We're talking this guy's like, oh my God, you rub your eyes a little bit. You're like, is that T.O.? I can't tell who this dude is over there. Derek the Freak. That's my pick. Dark horse for Mr. Irrelevant for the 49ers. I don't know where he's going to go, but he's a height, weight, speed monster. I mean, we're talking D2. He had no competition with the guys he was going up against there in college. And, there's definitely some raw refinement that he is going to need at the next level. But that's my guy, Derek the Freak. And Croc, I already asked you, and I know you haven't watched him yet, but you got to go check him out because he's going to get drafted. You're going to be live on the air, and you're going to be able to say, my guy Peacock told me about Derek the Freak Young out of Lenoir-Rhyne.
I got to watch him.
Got to watch him. Great stuff. Croc, do you have a Mr. Irrelevant yet, or you want to wait on that?
Let me wait a little bit. One more day.
Okay, yeah. One more date. Tomorrow, during the Winky Wednesday podcast, we'll get Wink's pick, too. I don't know if he watches the prospects enough to have a pick for Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the NFL draft. Watch the 49ers trade it. I hope they hold on to it. That's the one pick I hope they hold on to is Mr. Irrelevant. Number 262, the last pick in the NFL draft. The 49ers have it. Who will it be? I think it's going to be Derek Young out of Lenoir-Rhyne. Croc and I back tomorrow. Thanks for making us your first listen. Talk to you then right here. Locked On 49ers.